till Mark and Josh podcast.
I said, Mark, stop fucking your son. And Mark got so... Do you remember that?
Of course.
You got so angry that you punched me in the shoulder hard, and it fucked my shoulder up. And I was like, wow. Don't talk about his son.
You found it, John.
And don't talk about him fucking his son specifically.
And I like how there's a double whammy here of you did it then, and now we're doing it again with the podcast.
Because I loved saying it. It felt so good. But think about how many places in life that's applicable. Like if I was losing, like if you're losing to another man in an argument, let's say you're in a supermarket, you thought you were smart and intellectual, you got into a political argument, and this guy's owning you. Mm-hmm. You can just scream, stop fucking your son! And immediately everybody will get quiet. He'll get quiet.
Because there's no defense. What are you going to say?
Over.
Okay, I will. No, I never did that. Well, now you seem like you did.
I never fucked my son.
Yeah,
no matter what you say,
lost.
you look sketchy as fuck.
You lost the argument.
I don't fuck my son. This is preposterous. Like, what do you... I would like to think of that as a strategist of language. How would I even make a comeback to that?
I don't think
like
there
you
is
punched me in the arm. Maybe that's what you have to do. You have to go through violence. Like maybe
that's why.
If you're an onlooker, you're like, that guy said to the other guy, stop fucking your son, and the guy got really mad and punched the other guy who said it.
Yeah, that's why I did it, because there's nothing to say back. I'm like, well, I can't say anything. I'm just going to deck this kid.
For some things, there's just violence.
That's it. Violence is the only way. I guess I could throw it back on you, and I could yell back like,
but
I learned fucking him from you piece of shit. And then
you were restrained enough to be like, I'm going to punch this guy in the shoulder and not the fucking face.
Well, I'm not a monster.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your shoulder.
So
you can take a beating.
I could take a beating there.
Yeah.
So it was fair game.
Yeah.
It was fair game. Shoulder punch. Okay, that's fair game.
Yeah.
Now let's kick into some of the worst. And if you're listening, I want to know your worst job. So leave it in the comments anywhere on YouTube or mostly iTunes, because that seems to be where everybody's listening. YouTube is pretty much a dead zone, but we put it up there anyway, just in case you want to see our ugly faces blabber about what you could just listen to on a podcast and not have to see us. I recommend the iTunes podcast so you don't have to look at me. And you don't have to look at Mark. It just makes it easier for yourself. You can work out. You can better yourself. Like, what are you doing looking at me? Put my podcast on your phone or on your Bluetooth speaker, your headset, and go out for like a 10-mile run. And better empower yourself. Don't look at me on YouTube. You got to look at me. Just listen to me. You can be doing other things while you listen to me. You could be getting shit done.
Dude, our podcasts aren't long enough for a 10-mile run.
Then that's going to be the goal.
Oh, okay.
We're going to have to do marathon-style podcasts for these people who like to get shit done. Because I want people who listen to me to get stuff done. But anyway, leave comments. I want to hear about your shittiest job. If you think you got something that's worse than what Mark and I are going to present to you today, then please let me know.
Not even worse, just ridiculous. Everybody's got these stories.
Preposterous.
This is, everybody has these.
So you and I will go back and forth on worst jobs. I'll kick it off because the first job that I ever had.
No, hold on. Because yours is better. Let me get mine out of the way because I want to get into yours. There's a lot of facets that are into that.
Get in there.
Get in there. Mine's real easy. My first job, I was a telemarketer. This was in Midland, Michigan. And I had a girlfriend. And she got a job as a telemarketer. And I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'll get one. And it was, number one, you get there. They hire you almost immediately. The first thing you have to do is buy your own headset. So it's like $80 for this awful 1985 headset. Doesn't cost $85, costs like $4, but you have to buy it. And then you sit in a cubicle, little computer screen, auto dialer dials you up the person. You got like a little pitch, and whatever they say, you try to find the best fit, like the answer on the screen. You hit it, and it'll tell you what to read next. And that's it. Oh, and we had this is how old I am. We had a tape recorder that was set up. Like the phone lines and my line would go into it, and I'd have to hit record to like record the call because we didn't have computers that could do that. Or at least the government didn't give us computers that could do that. And so, but you could fuck with the system. You could hit stop. If I wanted to lie to you, for instance, I'd just hit stop and I'd say some ridiculous things to get you to accept my offer. And then I'd hit play again and continue with the speech. Because there's actually like a super specific thing you have to say, and then they say yes after it. Like you have to read it word for word. But you can stop it in between words and lie, and then hit play again.
So it was like Sorry to Bother You, but with just white people.
Well, no, there's many races
Did you
there.
convert? What were you selling?
I was so bad. I hate this because I know I'm intruding on their lives. I was bad at it. I tried to be nice about it, but I just came off. One dude actually stopped me. He's like, I'm going to interrupt you. You are the worst telemarketer I've ever had in my entire life. I was just like, all right, thank you. And then I quit shortly thereafter. It was awful.
What were you selling?
Anything. There's no specific. Like one was, oh my God, one was insurance. Extra
So
car
what is
insurance.
telemarketing? It's like the first affiliate marketing. How does
It's just cold calls. It's just cold calls. We would get phone numbers and we'd
But is the company getting a percentage of what they sell of like the big people's?
Yeah.
And that's sad.
Yeah, we all work on commission. We got paid like $4 an hour and then commission. So
if you didn't sell shit, you didn't get paid.
you can get paid. No.
That's why everybody quit.
And everybody who was the best seller was the biggest liar, because they would just stop and hit and just say like, oh, none of this actually matters. Just say yes at the end and then hit record again. And they just keep recording. So when you listen back, it just sounds like a perfect pitch.
Were there guys making serious money telemarketing?
I mean,
Can you make
serious
serious-
enough to buy like a 93 Cavalier. That's how serious it got.
Okay.
But it was a lot of people like on the lower socioeconomic ladder and kids I went to school with, and it was Michigan. It was like, people are listening to ICP or they're listening to NSYNC. It was just a
They had no skills.
mash of people.
And
Yeah,
they could just bring them in. Come in.
Yeah.
Take anybody. If you can sell, you can sell.
and they partner up. They like start dating each other and stuff. It's just so stupid.
Sounds to me like they were just making money off those headsets that they were selling everybody.
I'm going to be honest. I think they did.
I think
like
that's
a
the
lot,
racket. The
dude.
racket is the headset you have to buy.
Well, think about it. You only last so long as a telemarketer. They have to like hedge their bets that you're.
Right.
They'll make
That's the $80 headset
Yeah.
investment, which they're probably also making a commission off of the sale.
Some guy
Getting a
calls
percentage,
them.
you get a percentage of the company
Yeah.
that makes those headsets. They're paying you, and you're getting the whatever you're pocketing when you jack up the price that you're selling it in house to your employees.
So that was a terrible one.
Any particular stories other than, so you didn't last very long? There's not much to tell about this, right? Other than the
No,
guy who told you were the worst, because you didn't last very long. How long were you at this job?
Like 2 weeks. It wasn't there that long. But everybody, it's funny, the oldest person in the whole office is like 21. The manager's 21. And he doesn't know what he's doing. And we don't know what we're doing. And it was just a shit show. Because then they caught him. They caught people doing the stop recording thing. But they realized when they started like really hounding people, like their sales fell like 50% because we couldn't lie to them anymore. And yeah, it was a whole thing.
Man, that's pretty bad. Is it as bad as Chuck E. Cheese? I
don't know. I have to know more.
My first job was at Chuck E. Cheese in New London, Connecticut. I was making $6.90 an hour, which at that time, 2003, was minimum wage in the state of Connecticut. And they made you dress up like a referee, and my job was to fix the machines. Like when like they got jammed or malfunctioned, I had to like open them up.
Or like add a
and
tickets or
usually it was
something.
just me like having to beat them. You just had to like punch them. Like tokens would get jammed and you just punch it. Like most of the remedy for everything was to just punch or kick the machine.
And it would work.
There's no real technician skills here. Just what's the remedy? Just punch the machine and something will click, clack, and it'll go back to normal. So that's what I would do. But then the worst part of that job was getting in the rat suit. Nobody wanted to get in that fucking rat suit. So it was basically like if you had 8 guys on for the day, there would be rotations between 8 people.
Gets
Like
hot
you're
in
going to
there.
have the rat
Yeah,
suit
yeah.
on from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Then a birthday party's going to come in and you're going to get in the rat suit from 3 to 5. And when there were birthday parties, I would have to get in that suit. And first of all, let me talk about that suit. It smelled like a dumpster. It was disgusting. They never washed it. It was one suit that we all wore. There were stories of guys who shit their pants while they were in that suit. Like, just it's fucking really, really, really gross. Like, I'm not a germaphobe, but that suit was pretty gross.
That's awful.
It's like balls. It was truly balls all over you at all times, like sweaty balls. And I would have to get in that thing. And keep in mind, it would also get really, really, really hot.
So you're
Like,
dancing around.
Yeah, I'd have to dance. There was like a choreographed dance, and there were these robots on the stage, like robot puppets, and they like played instruments and they like swiveled around.
Give me a seated. What was the choreograph? Like, what'd you have to do? Like, give me a seated demonstration.
I have no idea. I don't remember. No one actually followed the choreography. I kind of did, but then usually like either if people were getting into it, I would like ham it up for them and do my own thing that they would really like, because the dance was pretty lame. Or if they weren't interested at all, I would just kind of just do the same first 4 moves over and over again. It just depends on the mood. Like if the kid was pumped to have a good birthday, then I'm going to dance my head off. But some kids, they just were like little shits. They didn't care. I could tell they didn't care.
Were they scared?
No, there was a few things that happens with little kids when they see you and you're in a giant rat suit. There's a couple things that go down. One, they start crying and they run to their mothers, and that felt bad. I hated walking towards kids and making them cry.
Like a monster.
2, they love you and they're like hugging all over you, and it's really sweet. And 3, the kids who are violent. There was one kid who punched me in the nuts and sneezed in the palm of my hand at the same time. That was the most disrespect I've ever had. I was like, you just punched me in the balls and you sneezed in my hand too, you little shit. Like, dude, I was furious. I was really mad.
You push him?
No, I didn't do anything to him. I just
just ignored him.
I like handled it well. Like, and it happened often. Like kids would reach. So the rat suit, where you breathe, there was like a little slit, and it was foam. So, but in front of the slit, there was like a little screen, like a little darkened little.
Like a plastic screen?
Like a plastic screening.
Like a mesh?
That was mesh, and it was really dark, so you couldn't look in and see behind the suit. Mm-hmm. But you could, if you reached into it, you could like rub it all over my face.
Like push it against
and push it against my lips and stuff, which was really gross. And I had really bad acne at the time. And I'd be sweating, and they're pushing that gross mesh. I'm like, get out of here. You're fucking me up worse, man. I can't get any play right now as it is with this acne kicking, and you're fucking me up,
You're
kids.
making it worse.
Damn. Gonna go back to school with a fucking look like a swollen idiot.
Jesus.
But
I just envision you beating a child in the suit. Just a birthday party gone wrong, and you were just walloping this kid.
There's nothing ever that weird, you know. I just know that at first I so everybody hated getting in the rat suit, and rightfully so. But after a while, I hated being seen working there.
Yeah,
like my pride was gone. Like it had been stolen.
Like
from
people
me.
would see you working
People
there.
would see me working in there, dressed like a referee. So basically, just the outfit. We stole the Foot Locker outfit. I'm in a referee suit. I don't have a whistle around my neck. There's no reason. There's not an athletic event that's about to take place. I'm not in some type of referee, but yet I'm dressed like one, and
you're calling the shots,
punching machines, arcade machines. And I had really bad acne. I'm just like, I don't want to be seen by the public. This whole thing just feels like my failure is on display. I can't have my failure on display. So I would intentionally take the whole day in the rat suit. So the boss would let me show up. Now I don't even have to like be seen. I showed up and I would just wear basketball shorts because I knew I was going to be sweaty in there. Mm-hmm. So I just come in basketball shorts and like a white t-shirt, and I would do shifts. He would let me take like 15-minute breaks back there to like take my head off, take my rat head off.
Chucky's head,
and just sit there and breathe in, breathe out, you know. And there was also an air gun. We had a high-pressure air gun, and I would spray my face with it and like spray myself down with it. And
that's handy.
And I would just, I spent my time in that rat suit. And that was, and then basketball season started. I couldn't work my shifts anymore. And when basketball season ended, I called and be like, hey, can I get my job back? And my manager, Jeff's like, nah, you can't get your job back. And I'm like, okay. And thank God. Why would I want to go back there? But I was just a dumb idiot still in high school. I was like, I'll take any job. The achievement out of that job, though, why I'm never mad at, you can never be mad at any job. Like there's always a positive swing on everything. I saved $1,000 making $6.90 an hour. That is a fucking achievement. I've already peaked. The achievement of a lifetime. Don't tell me you can't make $1 million in your life. I saved $1,000 and I made $6.90 an hour.
As a rat.
With that taxed. Now keep in mind how bad it would be if I was getting actually $6.90 an hour. I was not actually getting $6.90 an hour. That was being taxed. I was making like $5.13 an hour. And I saved $1,000, and I bought a car, and it did me well. It got me through high school. It got me to my next job. Can't be that mad at Chuck E. Cheese. So
they nurtured
rest
you.
in peace, Chuck E. Cheese. It's no longer there. It got shut down. I don't know what happened.
Are there any? There has to be a couple, right? Or do they all shut down?
I don't know what. I have to imagine there's still some.
I hope
because
so.
the allure of a giant ball pit will never
and a
will
giant
never
rat
cease. And a giant rat. So, yeah, giant. A giant rat in this overpriced pizza.
So you went into work, you dressed up as a referee, you weren't a referee, you're punching an arcade machine, you jump into a rat suit. If this was outside of Chuck E. Cheese, I'd call you fucking insane.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I'll give you $6 an hour.
Pretty much. So, Chuck E. Cheese, there it was. What's your next worst job?
My next worst job. I worked
or another bad job.
No, I worked.
I shouldn't say there's a list of this is the worst or that's worser.
I can't ever really be like, oh, work is the best. These are all shitty jobs. I worked at Funco Land in Gurnee, Illinois.
The video game?
The video game spot, yeah. It was cool at first, but let me give you some history of Funco Land. Before they became GameStop, they were just their own company, and it was ran like a shit show. So it's like regional managers, nobody talks to each other. Fucking everybody's super nerdy and defensive, and like, fuck you if you like Sega Genesis. Fuck you. It was weird. It was like drawn down lines. Like we had another store to the south, but the dude liked, this is ridiculous. The dude liked N64 games, and our manager didn't, and they like fought about it. And like our stores like wouldn't help each other out. They'd call, like, ask if we had a title for somebody like they were out of. We would like say, no, we don't have it.
So the bosses, there was a feud over over consoles and which systems were the best and which video games are the best. And it got personal.
It got personal.
It got deep.
It got
I'm not that surprised by that though, because it's Funco Land. I think that brings out a certain guy.
Yeah. Certain
It's
nerd.
like, hey, do you plan on never leaving your mom's basement and just playing video games? Okay. Well, we have an opportunity that you could actually make a little bit of money. You could be manager at a Funco Land. I feel like that's who they got. Every time I go in there,
that's who they got.
There's a nerdy dude like that.
Yeah. Literally nerdy white kid in the 90s, big glasses, spiky hair.
I feel like the Funco Land community, was it very judgmental? Because everybody's got their games. There's like is pomposity a word?
It is now.
Like, the pomposity of that. He's so pompous. I don't know if that's a word or not. It sounds good though. The pomposity.
Works for me.
There were guys, I just feel like they were like a little overweight. They would wear like those bowling shirts, those bowling style shirts.
Like Smash Mouth?
Like a Smash Mouth type of shirt.
Yeah. And
they'd have bad facial hair, an earring, and they would like say like backhanded remarks, like if you were getting a game that they didn't like, and just say something about it, like, oh, I'd like Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
You think that's a real RPG?
I mean, in my mind, you just described Guy Fieri and made him work at Funco Land.
Well, that's what I mean. I feel like people like the Guy Fieri, like. That's who I think of as a guy who manages a Funco Land, like a Guy Fieri lookalike type.
Totally, dude. Like, it's fucking scary. But it was more, dude. It was more like this was before nerdy was popular, though. So it was like a lot of like real nerdy, like gross, greasy face, smelly guys, and that's who would come in too. I love them. I was one, I guess, but it was a messed up job because we would steal from the customer. So when you bring your games in. Here's a breakdown of how this worked. It's called overpassing. You bring your games in. So this was back when PS1 was just stopping and PS2 had just come out. So you got a bunch of old Super Nintendo games. We're going to give you $1 for most of them, whatever you bring in. But there's like 5 that we would give you like 90 for. And that's like Chrono Trigger for Super. Secret of Mana was one that was pretty high priced. A couple Nintendo games, and as we're clicking your games through, you don't know what I'm gonna give you. So we would like pretend like we scanned the game, but we didn't. We kind of put it to the side. Nobody checks the receipts, and I'd say, you got, $14 back on these 30 games, and I'll put that towards your PlayStation you're buying or whatever.
I remember.
So by doing that, you just get a stack of games.
I remember a video game store like that. It actually near Cav. What was it called? Hall of Games is what it was called.
Hall of Games.
And dude, they were number one, way too expensive. All the consoles and the game. This was the mid '90s. It was like '95, back when not everybody was selling high end consoles, so you didn't know like the way that we have a price point now. Like a low end Xbox is $249.99. It wasn't really like that. It was like, because the trades would tell you what the price would be, but not everybody knows this, but like there was a time when you couldn't walk into a Walmart and have all the premier systems. Super Nintendo and Nintendo, those have always kind of been sold, but there was never the marketplace, meaning like Walmart and all those shitty stores that we buy consoles from now, Target, those kind of places. They didn't have all the high-end consoles, so it created game shops that sold like cards, like baseball cards or Magic the Gathering cards and comic books and Pogs, and then they might have like a used video game section. Like that hole in the market was filled by these game stores. But these game stores, because they knew that you could read the trade publication and know that the PlayStation was coming or that the Sega Saturn was coming, but it didn't mean you could go to a store and get it. Like it would be readily available to get it at any of these stores. So they would throw this arbitrarily high markup on stuff. So like I remember Kazi, my stepbrother, got ripped off on a Sega Saturn. It was like $400, I think. And then like the games were like $80, $90 a piece. And like
that hurts.
Dude, they just ripped you off. But then everybody got hit. But also the point being, what I wanted to make a point of on that is they had a thing like you were describing where you could bring in your used games to get credit towards a new game. But like I brought in one time, it's like all my Super Nintendo, like Donkey Kong Land, and all these Super NES games, and it was just like nothing. It'd be like, yeah, here's like $22 in credits. It's like, dude, I just gave you like half of my library.
Yeah, dude, it's so ridiculous. And then
does this mean nothing to you,
dude? And then they sell it for like way higher. I'll give you $1, but I'm going to sell it for $7. I just made $6. What you do, FYI, go to GameStop. You see people trading stuff in, and they're like, like if you come into a GameStop and you have like a, I don't know, PlayStation 2, I'm only going to give you like $4. So if you go there and offer the dude $5, you can get yourself a PlayStation 2 or like an older game for cheap. We used to get pissed when people would do that. They'd come in and they would just put $1 on the offer I just gave them, and they would just sell it for cash right in front of me. Because I wanted the game, because I wanted to keep it myself.
That culture is horrible. I always had a bad experience. The only thing I liked about those video game stores was being able to walk in as a kid, and they had a wall, and it was lined up with all different monitors for each console. And it's constantly running at the same time. And there was a Sega Saturn. There was a Sony PlayStation 1. There was a Neo Geo CD. There was a Neo Geo. Like this place had like Neo Geo and Neo, like they had like all the shit. And you don't even want to know what they were charging for the Neo Geo and the Neo Geo. Do you remember how much? Does anybody like
it's like
for the
$700?
Listeners who game, if you're a gamer and you don't know about Neo Geo and Neo Geo CD and how expensive the games were, Mark, please explain that.
Dude, they're still expensive. It was like $700.
$700 for
$250
I would
a
look
game.
in the trade magazines and I would see Neo Geo. How much was the system? How much was a Neo Geo?
$700.
No. The games were like I
No, the
remember
games are $250.
$250.
Yeah,
for the
the
games?
system was $7. Yeah,
System was $700.
in 1993.
And the games were I remember the games being, but like all the games were like that. It wasn't like a rare game was $250.
No,
it's like all the games were $200, $250.
Yeah.
And even the Neo Geo CD was expensive as shit.
Yeah. Well, and the whole reason for it existing is because CDs are cheaper than RAM systems. But still, dude, like they're charging a lot for this stuff. Ain't cheap, brother.
But it was cool to walk in and play these systems as a kid. You're like, I'm never gonna own this system.
Yeah, of course. You remember the fun of going to like Sears and you'd play Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
It's the only thing you're looking forward to in that whole trip is playing like that. Dude, it was such a fun thing.
That's how it was with the Neo Geo, because it's like, never again am I going to play
Yeah.
Samurai Showdown.
Yeah. And it looked this good unless I'm in an arcade. It was mind blowing.
And that was the idea of the Neo Geo too, I think, to bring the arcade.
It was the boards, same boards. Like you could actually take the games, like the same idea, like those you could plug a cartridge that looked just like a Neo Geo cartridge. I mean, kind of like it, pretty similar, but.
Next job, what do you think? I think probably the casino. I think I have mixed feelings. I'd maybe save the casino for last, because I would say that that's not a job that I hate, but there were things about it that were pretty awful.
Yeah.
But experience-wise, I was blessed with so many ridiculous experiences.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it's cool. Looking back on it now, I'm very glad that it happened.
It's a net positive.
There was a job that I had. So when I quit being a bellhop, I was 22, and I had been given an offer by a producer out of New York City to start working at the Laugh Factory in Times Square. So I was doing stand-up. I got into, don't know why, probably just one of the dumbest decisions of my life, but I loved it, and I showed some promise. And you were at the first show that I did at the Laugh Factory. I had a killer show, which all of them are not. Some crowds will fucking hate you.
Yep.
But that was a night where I had a killer show, and I was spotted by a producer. And the reason why this was a really bad thing that happened to me was the producer was like, yo, you're a pro, man. You're fucking, you killed. Like, you got it in. Like, he was gassing me up too much. I was too new for that. It's like, dude, you can't tell a young comic that. Like, he's going to take some punches and not be ready for it. Like, telling him, like, oh, dude, you're a pro. You're ready. So I got a little arrogant. And the next show I did, I ended up offending an audience member. And I said something, I can't even remember what I said to some hot chick, that I was going to like eat cereal out of her ass, something that was just stupid. It was stupid, and it wasn't really that offensive. It wasn't particularly funny, but it wasn't particularly offensive either. And the set was okay. It was a good set. The crowd was really fucking rowdy. So I was just trying to keep everybody at bay. So in doing that, you can sometimes be a little too aggressive when you try to counter an aggressive crowd with being overly, and I end up shitting on people. Yeah. And a lot of time people love it, but there are some people who they really can't handle it. Yeah. And this was a case where I was shitting on an audience member, and it got me in trouble. And then immediately after that set, the dude like didn't want to pay me, and he didn't really want to fuck with me. And I was just like, which sucked, because the Laugh Factory was an awesome comedy club. Yeah. And I had just quit my job to move to New York City. So I was living in Brooklyn. I was living in Crown Heights, and I was renting a room. It was a 4-bedroom. I was living with Martin Bentley and this guy named Mike Friedrich. And I had this little room. I'm on an air mattress, and I'm just there to be a comedian. You know what I mean? Like, because New York City, like, why would I do it anywhere else? Like, that's how you know if you're any good, you got to go to a big city and test your shit. Because at least you'll know what the standard is. Yeah. Like, okay, I have to be that good. When you don't have that, you don't really understand what you need to be. You go to New York City and you see how funny some of these dudes are, and you're like, okay, like the standard, the bar's high, and now I got to try to hit that shit. So I had to start making money again. I was like, shit, like I had just quit my job. The Laugh Factory, comedy clubs don't pay shit, but if you do enough shows and if you can get a couple weekend spots. So basically how it works in stand-up is comedy clubs pay you really, really, really poorly from Monday. I don't know if it's Thursday when this starts or if it's Friday, but there's basically a weeknight on major nights. So Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. The rate for comics goes up way high because those are the nights when people are coming out to do comedy. So, for instance, it was really exclusive to be able to do a comedy club on a Friday night or a Saturday night. Like everybody, those were the best guys. Yeah. The best guys are coming out. You know what I mean? Like basically, you have to be creme de la creme to be able to get on a weekend. And usually comedy clubs, it varies. Some will pay like $80 for a week, and it's still not a lot. That's what I mean. You got to do you got to rack up like a dozen shows a week to be able to make enough money to string together a living.
Is that 5 or is that 15 minutes?
What was... Usually they were 15 to 20 minute sets. So I think, I want to say 20, but for some reason I never did. I would do 15s. And, you know, everybody was trying to get on for those nights. So I just... Getting knocked out of the Laugh Factory meant that I had to find a new base. Like, people aren't just accepting in comedy. It's very competitive. So if you're a darling at one club, you go to another one, they don't give a fuck about that. They don't know who you are. They don't give a fuck about you. So I had to go back to square one. But in doing so, I had to get a job. So I got this job at it was at JFK. And essentially, it was a security detail. But by security detail, I mean I sat in a booth. You know those little bars that, what are they called? I don't even know what they're called.
The gate things
little
for cars?
Gate things for cars
that
you can drive through that come up and down. I would be the guy who flipped the switch.
Nice.
So it was at an right off the airport, so like a building where like the pilots could come in and park their cars, and the flight attendants, like all the crew from the airlines, could come in and park their cars in a gated facility.
Are you checking IDs or you're just hitting the switch?
I'm basically just hitting the switch. They're like flashing sometimes, like their ID, but it's like, okay, there you go.
Yeah,
have fun, head in there. And that was pretty daunting because it it took me a really long time to get there. So I had to be there for like 6 a.m. But in order to get there on time, I would have to take the subway. And the subway doesn't run efficiently at those hours of the morning. Like the trains come like once every hour. It's like a fucking bitch. Like to travel, you're waiting a long time. And if you got to transfer, like I had to transfer several times to get to the stop. So I would have to leave at like 3 something in the morning to get there.
Jesus.
And usually I had no sleep because I was still doing stand up. So I was just like, it was hell. It was hell. I think I lasted for like a month before I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Because I was getting no sleep. It's just like sometimes I would leave the comedy club, any particular one that I was doing. So I was getting into I was doing a lot at Broadway. I was doing open mics at New York Comedy Club. Was I fucking with anybody else? Laugh Lounge maybe too, a little bit. But mostly Broadway in New York. And a lot of times I didn't even care when I went up there. I'd be so tired. I'd be like, this sucks. Like, I don't even want to be telling jokes. Like, I hate all of you here. What did I do to myself?
You're just one of those comics. You just tell it how it is. And it gets too deep, too dark.
And then that was that. But I remember it wasn't so much the job. I mean, the job was terrible. I would flip a switch. I mean, literally anyone could have done that. But
a censor probably does it now.
Yeah. Why wasn't a censor doing it before is what I want to know. Why was I doing that? Why was I doing that? You really need me to flip this button? Ah, man.
I love it. I didn't even know you had that job. Are you super ashamed of this? I didn't know about this. I had
a lot of jobs when I was doing stand up. The next job that I was doing was I was working at I was a security guard at the Levi's store in Times Square. I was like, yeah. I was still 22. I was still 22.
You just made snot come out of my nose.
I still had I was 22, and I was just thinking to myself like, man, if this stand-up thing doesn't work out, I could be in trouble. And that's actually when I went back to school. And I graduated. I was like, I gotta get more education because I can still do stand-up and I can still pursue that. But I need to have a better education so that I can make money, that I don't have to break my back while I'm doing it. Because you can't stand up is tough mentally, because it fucks with your emotion. You have a great set and you feel fucking on top of the world, and then the next night you eat shit and you're like, everybody fucking hates me, and they do, and you start to hate yourself, but then you love yourself again the next night because you perform well, but then it's bad again, and then it's good again. You're just like all over the place emotionally. I imagine the guys who, because I didn't take it, I didn't run with stand up like I should have, or maybe not. I love stand up, and I'm mad that I don't do it anymore, but I love writing. I want to be the behind the scenes guy. Like, I love to write. I love to direct. I love to edit. I love to make. I don't want to be seen. Like, I don't want to be an actor. I want to direct actors. I want to put people on. I'm not interested in doing stand up, dude. I wish I could have written for someone else. Like, to do like some stand up who's big, who needs writers. Like, that's what I would love to do. But to have to go up there, and I deal with depression and mood swings, and I know it's not an excuse because I know most comics do, but it just wasn't for me at the end of the day. Like, I think maybe one day I'll do it again and go heavy on it, because I do miss performing live. There's nothing better than performing live. That's what I miss.
Yeah, it's fun.
I do love to be behind the scenes and write and not perform, but man, I miss it. Yeah. The rush, the adrenaline rush, dude, it was awesome. Especially a great night where the crowd's loving it and they're fucking psyched. A lot of fun. But I just wasn't up for it to go up there. To go up on stage a dozen times, to just do it over and over. I just nah. Because some nights I didn't feel it. And then I knew that I couldn't do it as a living. I'm honest with myself about the things that I pursue to some degree, because I was like, okay, I'm going to do stand up. I'm going to have to do like a dozen sets a week, even to get good. Even to get good. Brad Trackman was a headliner, guy who would do the Comedy Cellar. He was making a ton of money, this guy Brad Trackman, and he was basically my mentor. Like, I would fuck with him. Like, I'd roll with him. I would go to comedy clubs with him. Like, if he was performing, like if he was one night he was at the Cellar, and he's like, do you want to come? I'll introduce you to the comics. And like, I rolled in there. He introduced me to everybody, and did his set. And it was just really awesome. And to see a guy who was making a ton of money, he would do corporate stuff. He was really clean. Yeah. So he would do corporate stuff, cruise ships, and they pay big money. Get like 10 grand to do an hour at some function, some business volume, and even more. I could be underselling it. Like, if you're doing big companies, you could be talking about 6 figures for one performance, and you're literally, nobody knows Brad Trackman. He's good, but nobody knows him. And I'm like, wow, you can make a living and not even be a fucking blip on anybody's radar. Yeah. Just be good at what you do, and the corporations or these companies know you're good. So I saw that and I was like, okay, there's a dude who's not at all a superstar. He's making a ton of money because he's really funny. I'm like, at least I can aspire to that. And, he'd always tell me, he's like, you got to do at least a dozen sets a week to get good enough to be able to get to that level. And I was just like, I want to do a couple sets a week. And that's when I knew that it wasn't for me, because you can't just do it. If you're doing 2 sets a week, just quit. Seriously, just quit. If you want to be a stand-up, to any stand-up aspiring comics listening to this, if you think that you're hitting the fucking bag hard because you're doing 1 or 2 sets a week, it's just not going to happen for you. You're going to have to get up there in double digits. Yeah. You're going to have to get up a lot. Because you're going to have to be testing new jokes. You're going to have to be performing them enough to know, okay, I got laughs on this joke 9 out of 10 times. Like, you need to be able to know that your jokes work. The other thing is, people don't understand, if you haven't done stand-up, is you're doing a lot of the same jokes night after night, but they're tested, and your set is, however many minutes your set is, it's just a collection of the jokes that have worked for you. That's all your set is. Yeah. If you go up there and your joke doesn't land most of the time, then you got to throw that shit out. Yeah, so you keep doing it until you have enough jokes.
Well, you got to tell it, 100 times? That's the rule. To even know if it's funny, you have to tell it at least 100 times.
Yeah, and it's the spins on it too, because you do it enough to know what kind of spin needs to be placed on it, the framing,
right,
the
and
cadence.
Placed in the context of the joke, of the bigger arc. Yeah. And where the tags are and all that shit. Yeah.
And tags could come out of nowhere. You could be feeling it that night, and the audience is on, and you got a tag for a joke, and you're like, damn, where'd that come from? I was just on the spot. So if you're not doing that, it's not going to work out for you.
That's what Higgins was really good with, I think.
Tags.
He always had good tags, dude. Guy's killer tags.
I miss the camaraderie of stand-up.
We had fun, dude. Like, hanging out together was ridiculous.
All the comics at the clubs. The things that you try to do to make other comics laugh, because we're just jaded. I was in so many mics that I didn't even want to laugh. Like, I hated stand-up. After doing it that long and hanging out in the clubs for a while, I hated watching it. Or hated watching funny things. I was so fucking jaded. Like, when I see funny things, a lot of the time, I'm like, that's well written. That's funny. But in my head, you know what I mean? I'm not even laughing. Because I've seen it. I know exactly the devices they're using. Yeah. It's just like, that's very clever.
Just ruins it.
It ruins it. And you're around a lot of people telling jokes. Some of those, there would be these open mics at New York Comedy Club. And on Tuesday and Wednesday, I think, but mainly Tuesday was it was a Rocky set. What I mean is like Rocky Balboa. It was like beating the meat. I'm not talking about beating. I love where
I'm just keep going.
I'm struggling
just keep
with this
going.
one.
Just keep going.
It's a tiny club. It's a piece of shit club. It's since been renovated, I think. I haven't been there in a long time, but it was a little. You remember it?
Of course.
It was awful. Andrew Dice Clay mural on the wall. Yep. It had a Jim Carrey mural on the wall. A very, very, very small club. What would you say? 30 seats? 50 seats?
Like 50, yeah. I think that's
like
probably,
50 seats, but it had a living room vibe too. Yeah. Because the stage was.
Well, it wasn't even there because there was the tables, but then there's the booths in the back. So it's not like it's 50 chairs. It's like.
You're packed like a sardine.
Yeah, there's like six tables.
Yeah. You're packed like a sardine in this place. So it's like 50 people, like elbow to elbow. Like no air in the whole fucking joint. And the bowels. And they were long shows. There would be so many comics. Like, there'd be nights where there would be like 20 to 30 fucking comics. And you'd have to watch the sets of that many people.
And you've watched it the night before because you saw him at the open mic working that shit out. So now you're sitting now again, hearing the same. It was weird. I could tell people's sets. Like, I knew them word for word, especially if like they repeated themselves. There's one comic in particular.
Don't go there.
I'm not going there.
But that show, that Tuesday night show, that battle room show, I would get to host sometimes. And that grew some chest hair on me, because trying to keep things moving when that many comics come on, everybody's tired. Nobody gives a fuck. Usually the crowd was mostly comedians. Yeah. With like maybe there would be like 10 actual audience members.
And they brought them all.
So you had to try to make comedians laugh, which could be done. But most of the time you had to go to such a dark place.
Everybody else is offended.
That it's like, it's like, I'm glad the comics find that funny, but I can't tell that around anybody else.
Yeah. Well, think of the shit we have to say to each other to make each other laugh. These things can't be said.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm numb. I'm numb to the world, brother.
Anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So there we go. So, all right, next job. What do I got? The Levi's, security guard at the Levi's.
Yeah, hold on, really quick. We need to go back to this. I didn't know what the last thing I ever expected to come out of your mouth was. It is, I worked as a security guard at a Levi's store. John, that's the last thing I'd ever think.
I think I did it for 1 month.
Whew. You ever catch any criminals?
I did. No, actually, what ended up happening, it was a job that there's no reason for you to like be doing it. It's like, this is if you really think about how bad of a state of our state of affairs with jobs and putting people to work is in bad shape, because unfortunately most of these jobs we never should have had to do them in the first place. Like, they're so silly. I would stand by the door, but legally I'm not allowed to touch anybody. I'm not allowed to actually apprehend anybody. You're just there to like bully someone and to be like, yeah, that's right, there's a human standing by the door, don't you steal. You better think twice about it, because there's that guy over there and that sleeveless button down, that tucked in sleeveless button down with some gray Dockers, who's gonna stop you.
Was this when you were thick too?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, John.
Yeah, that's when I was working out.
That's how you got the job.
And I had to put this earpiece in. But the earpiece was, I'd just be like tuned in to some frequency that was like the store manager's frequency. So I'd hear like, I need some jeans down in the basement. I'm down here trying to package stuff. I need some jeans. I need a size 34, 32. And you'd hear like that stuff all day long. And or like managers like, Sheila, I told you not to go on your break right now. Can you hold off on the break? And she'd be like, no, I need to eat something. And it'd be like, just, you have to listen to the Levi's, even though I didn't actually work for Levi's. It was like some security company. But I'd still have to be tuned into the radios to hear all that bullshit all day long. And I'd have to walk around and like make sure no one was stealing.
Survey the store.
But all I would do is just pretend like I was surveying the store, but not really be at all. I'd just like walk around.
I feel like this could be said about your whole job.
And I just look around.
Pretend to be, but you're not really.
You just look around. Really simple job. Just pretend like you're looking for something. Could be anything. I would just move my head all around and sometimes I just go in there and play the game, like actually like walk with my hands behind my like some type of very inquisitive
did
type
you have
of spy.
in front of you? You're like,
yes. Oh, yes. There's a man over there. He's clutching a pair of denim.
This is you the whole time.
I suspect that man might steal that denim, that black pair of skinny jeans.
And as you're tackling him as he's leaving the door, you scream, "This is for the shareholders!"
Oh, that job was pretty bad. Pretty bad. Yeah, I don't have much to say about it other than actually I have one thing to say about it. Me and this other dude. Sometimes we would go on really, really long lunch. Towards the end, I stopped caring, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going on my lunch break, and I'd be gone for hours, and he'd just be in there, and then we'd rotate, and we just like
one guy working.
Yeah, but there'd be one manager who would come in every once in a while to check on us, and whichever one of us weren't there, the other one would just be like, "No, he just went out." He just because they won't stay long enough to see when you come back. So I would just be roaming. It was Times Square, so I would just roam around fucking Times Square, and just I don't know, walk around. I was eating at McDonald's a lot too. When I worked at that Levi store, dude, I was eating McDonald's like almost every single day. Thinking back on that could have taken me down. I got my belly felt like there was an alien growing in it.
There was.
This was Sigourney Weaver type shit. Like it was real in the field.
It was real. Just
that Times Square McDonald's, I would just walk to that Times Square McDonald's and just eat there all the time. Which is, have you ever been to the Times Square McDonald's? It's fucking huge.
The 3-story one?
Yeah. I'd go to the top story and just eat my burger.
Mm-hmm.
But the Levi's, I have nothing more to say about it other than that, is that by the end of it, I was not working many hours.
We're at 50 minutes. Should we keep going?
Should we do a part 2? A part deuce?
I'd rather hold it because I got more. I mean, I need to tell people about my tenure at Walmart.
Okay.
Let's
do that.
We don't have a sponsor. Are we sponsorless tonight?
Are we sponsorless? Fuck. Let me root around. Actually, let me see.
I
have my bag over there. I swear to gosh.
This is a segue for me telling you about our new sponsor.
Oh, you got me riled up. I was worried.
Jesus, John.
Are we sponsorless?
We're sponsored. AOL.
America Online.
Intriguing, isn't it?
What an honor. Tell me about this partnership. I don't know anything about it. Did you seal this deal? Did you broker this? Did you close on this AOL deal, Mark?
I don't mean to toot my own horn, but, toot toot. I did.
So talk to me. Who did you speak with at America Online?
That's a very specific question. I'll frame it this way. This is what we got coming in the mail. Unlimited supply of 700-minute AOL CDs, the sign-up discs. Unlimited.
And the discs themselves put your computer onto the internet. You don't need a modem.
Don't need a modem.
You don't need Wi-Fi.
Don't need Wi-Fi.
You don't need any type of internet connection. AOL's free minute CDs, they put your computer onto the internet with CD technology.
Dude, it's digital. All digital. No analog. It's amazing.
Did you try it? Did your computer run? Did you get on the internet with just the CD?
No, my Pentium 2 burnt out. I gotta reboot it.
The future of the internet is on a CD, and AOL wants you to know that they're offering 700 free minutes. So when you're getting ripped off by your telecom company, you get your internet through Fios or AT&T or whatever rip-off job company.
Overpriced.
You got your internet coming through. America Online has CDs that you fill out a form. They send it to you in the mail. You get it with your bills. You get it with your car permit.
Right. You get 700 minutes. After the 700,
It's in the mail.
You got to get another
It's
one.
in the mail. You don't got to worry about anything. There's no modem. There's no, do I need Wi-Fi?
No, because you got chat rooms. You got email. You have
Age, sex, location.
16 mail, California. That's what I always said. I don't want to tell them I was from Michigan because who cares about Michigan? I don't say Cali.
But these America Online, you know, shout out to you. Shout out to what you've done as an innovator,
To the future.
pioneer.
The future.
America Online is a company that you are going to be talking about more. You talk about Apple now. You talk about Google, Panasonic, Sony, all of these companies, but you're not talking about America Online, and soon you will be when you realize that you can put a CD inside your computer and you have free internet access for 700 straight minutes. My God, the technology.
John, this is the future.
So, all right. Thanks to everybody who's
Cheers.
been listening. Cheers
We
to
love
you. Happy New Year. I hope everybody has a really good year this year, and
Best.
I hope everybody finds mental peace. So, love you. Goodbye.
What if you're listening?
You're glistening.
Timmar Kandiors podcast.